Hi, welcome to Wandering into the Woods, a podcast brought to you by the creators of Adventures with BG. I'm Linda,
And this is Jarrett.
and today we'll be talking to you about our visit to Old Tunnel State Park. It's on the outskirts of Fredericksburg, Texas, and we got the chance to visit there last Wednesday evening. Currently, the park has limited visitation and capacity for particularly for bat viewing. But Jared managed to get us some passes. And keep in mind, if you are interested in visiting this state park, you're going to have to get your tickets online, particularly to view the bats. And tickets are as we keep saying, are very limited because of COVID-19. So the sooner you can reserve your tickets, the better. Jared, what do you want to add as we introduce people to Old Tunnel State Park?
So just to go to the park, to hike, I don't know that you actually need an entry pass. It's a free park. And I don't remember seeing any day passes for it. It's only half a mile. It's open from sunrise to 5. 5 is when the bat tours and shows or emergence actually start happening. So they close down the trails.
Yeah, there's no fee to actually use the trail. And in fact, the instructions on Facebook are that you may access the short half-mile nature trail every day from sunrise until 5 p.m.
Yeah.
But if you find the trail closed, sign up and or gate closed or latch, please feel free to open the gate and go down the trail.
Yeah. The time I hiked there was like no one there, and it was just a no entry, even though I have a park pass.
I can see why it's isolated. I mean, not only is it 15 acres?
Yeah,
Is that correct? But no pets, no camping, no alcoholic beverages, no smoking on trails or in viewing areas. Those are the rules.
Okay. But as far as the bats go, there's 2 viewing areas. There's the upper and the lower. We did the upper. They have it like every night, all 7 days of the week. It seems like they have about 20 spots they allow now because of COVID. It's more when it's in full swing. And the lower viewing is only limited to 10 people. It was more, but it's way less. And it is definitely the better way to go if you can do it. But they only run it from Thursday to Sunday evening. So, and they put the tickets out like a month ahead, and they get bought up real quick. So the weekday when ones are open, that's why we went and saw it. But like the lower viewing area, they're much harder to get because I'm pretty sure they sell it pretty quickly, especially since people don't have a whole lot to do right now.
Right. And it provides a good outdoor activity for people to do and have fun as a family, while also keeping social distancing.
Yeah.
So a little bit about the history of Old Tunnel State Park. Why is it called Old Tunnel? Well, it might shock you to learn that it's because there actually is an old tunnel going through the park. This tunnel was originally built in 1913 as part of a private railroad going from Fredericksburg to Comfort. They had to blast the tunnel through the Texas stones. Limestone, thank you. Which, comparatively was easier to crack than other stones. And so they built this tunnel and they used it for about 30 years. The private railroad wasn't a great financial success. It apparently had several, bankruptcies.
Mm-hmm.
And it never made a lot of money, even though it was supposed to be helping, and it was funded by businessmen working in Comfort and in Fredericksburg. Legend has it, or story has it, that the train would travel once a day, and then as people would decide that they would like to go hunting instead in the middle of the trips, they'd go hunting. So a 3-hour trip or however long it was could turn into a day-long trip. So it wasn't a huge financial success. It last shut down in 1941.
42, I think.
Okay, in the early 1940s.
Yeah.
And nobody really thought much of it. It was the land around it was owned privately, so there weren't people looking around or looking into the tunnel. But it wasn't until the 1950s or 1960s that the landowners and people walking around started noticing that there were bats that had made the old tunnel their home.
How many?
Well, according to the Texas Parks and Wildlife Recreation website, it says that this old tunnel is now home to a colony of approximately 3 million Mexican free-tailed bats. These bats migrate up from Mexico and are present in the tunnel from May through October each year. And from what we were told by the tour guide there, this is a colony, a co-ed colony.
To
Apparently,
start with, right?
sorry,
Only to start with, right?
what do you mean?
So it's only co-ed in the beginning of the season?
No, beginning and the end, remember?
Well, they come back, but
Yeah.
mostly in the beginning.
So how it works is you have 3 types of colonies in the bat world, and also 3 examples that you have here in Central Texas. And one of them is the bachelor pad type of ward, which is mostly male bats. And we have that one out on Congress Avenue Bridge. That is the bachelor bat pad.
One of, I mean, it's not the only
Well,
one.
right, but the one of the Central Texas one. What was the maternity ward that they kept mentioning, Jarrett?
I don't remember.
Oh, shoot.
And I think they said they're not really sure where their bats go to for maternity ward.
Okay, so there is a maternity ward somewhere outside of San Antonio. I just can't recall which cave it is. And what they mean by maternity ward, it's the female bats, and not just female bats, but female bats with their babies, babies all the way to teenagers. And for some reason or another, they think it has to do with bats needing a lot of heat. That's why the females go and have their own ward. But once the bats have grown up, what do you call them? The cubs have grown
Pups.
up?
I believe they're pups.
Okay, thank you. Once the pups have grown up, they come back. The mother and the pup come back to the original, or some of them come back to the original co-ed colony that we have here at Old Tunnel State Park. These are all hypotheses that the experts in the area have produced, and so they think, based off numbers alone, that's what happens. That you have this at the beginning of spring, you have this colony filled with males and females, and then by this time the females are probably already pregnant. So when it's time for them to have their pups, they head over to the maternity ward, and then they come back when their pups are teenagers, and their teenagers are at Old Tunnel learning how to fly and how to follow the rest of the colony. Pretty neat. It's a pretty neat park, and they're very neat creatures.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So with that, what was our experience like when we were there?
Well, first, going to talk a little bit more about the bats. Something else I found amazing.
Sure.
Okay. So I found it amazing that if you look at the way the tour guide showed us, if you look at kind of like an x-ray of a bat, of a wing, of their wings, they look pretty much like a hand. It's the wing is pretty much like a 5-fingered hand. Yeah.
It is their hand.
Which is crazy.
I guess.
And then that they're flap it so many times. Like they have to stay flapping it. They're not like birds that can stop flapping their wings.
Some birds.
Okay. But bats have to be flapping it. And they're like the only mammal that can stay on air and keep flapping through the night. So I just thought that was amazing how similar they were to like their wings are to human hands and how much their wings do for them. It's just amazing. And so I just wanted to say I was like wowed by bats even more. And now I forgot what else we were going to talk about.
What our trip was like there for our bat viewing.
Oh yeah, you can talk about that. You can tell from my expression that I was pretty amazed.
So you get there, starting, I don't know, we got there around 7. So the bats usually emerge between 7 and 8:30, depending on the time of the year or the month of summer, because it's really like late spring to end of summer that the bats actually emerge.
And the park is pretty good about posting on Facebook around what times they're coming out, right, for the week.
So you don't have to get there at 5 and wait 2 hours. You can kind of see what's happening. So you get there and they start giving you a presentation. You'll see a bunch of wild bats that they say are probably teenagers leaving early. So you'll get like 1 or 2 flying out alone. And they say they're adolescents or teenagers, just getting crazy.
They're out of control.
Yeah. And then, they give you this long presentation. They tell you about the bats, the history. And then bats just kind of slowly start emerging, and you'll watch them fly out of the tunnel, and they kind of zigzag through the trees in your line of sight because you're above them and behind them, so you see them kind of come out and start flying through the trees. It takes them about 10 to 15 minutes to completely exit, and you'll also see them as they head out to the fields because that's what they're after, some sort of moth that also eats crops. You can see them off as, black blurs and swarms. I don't know what is a group of bats.
Colony?
That's when they're like hibernating, but when they're flying.
Is it though?
I don't think so.
I think it is.
So you get like a swarm of bats leaving. You can see them at the distance, in the sky and everything.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how they start. They don't come out like shooting straight out, or at least on Congress Bridge when I've seen them previously. Those just shoot out as I recall. Those like to shoot out, but I noticed these have like a swirl to them as they're. I don't know. It looked like a swirl to them as they're coming out of the tunnel.
Well, the tunnel opening is definitely smaller than the opening for Congress Bridge, so a lot more of them can leave at once, and it's over the lake, so there's nothing in their way. Like you exit the tunnel and you're right into trees.
Right.
So they probably have to, spend more time going in circles to gain, altitude before they can actually fly off and do what they want.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it has to do with just the physics of the tunnel opening.
Oh, okay. Well, I still thought it was pretty amazing to see them circle and coming out as they come out of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And then you see them going down through the hills of the of the hill country.
Mm-hmm.
So they start forming that line, and it's just pretty amazing to see. The whole thing lasts about 15 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit longer. I mean, because everyone stays around. Like, is that it? What else is happening? So
you're like, you want more bats?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was pretty cool. I really enjoyed it. Really easy, short thing to see. If you're out visiting in Fredericksburg, I would recommend as part of your planning to try to see the bats if you can, if it's that time of the year.
Yeah, definitely.
If you aren't going to Fredericksburg, you might still want to make it a weekend trip or maybe even an evening trip. Jared was crazy enough to plan it for a Wednesday night, so he got home right after work. We left from Austin to Fredericksburg, and we were at that park that evening, and we made it back home by around 9. Right?
It was 10.
Around 10. Okay.
Yeah, it's about an hour and a half to an hour and 45 from
Oh,
Austin.
that's true. And we were a little bit slower, though, because of the tire situation.
They slowed us down coming back.
Yeah. So that was our experience. We really enjoyed it.
It's time for our next segment, What the Haters Say. You have any, Linda?
Yes, actually, Jared, I do have one or two here that you might want to know about some haters out there. There is a hater there who was very confusing to me. They gave this park a 2-star review. But get this is what they said. It's cool for a day trip. I'm sure the bat sightings in the evening are very cool. 2 stars, though.
Yeah.
So very odd. I was very confused by that. Another person said, no bathrooms, no pets allowed, such BS. I don't know what to tell you. I feel like the no pets rule is to protect the bats and to protect the environment for them. So I don't feel bad about that. And I'm a dog owner. I'd like to take Angela and BG with us. But I also care about the bats and protecting this habitat that they've created for them. And as far as the bathrooms, I do have to warn you guys, if you're a little phobic about where you go, make sure you make other arrangements, because right now they are fixing the restrooms and you have to use a porta potty.
Yeah. And for the one I found, 3 stars, lightning made us go home.
Oh, God.
Because that's totally the park's fault. They control the lightning and making you go home.
There are no rain checks.
Yeah.
FYI, the park warns you.
Yeah, but I mean, upper viewing is free, and so is the park itself, so what all did they lose?
And how is that the park's fault?
Yeah, exactly.
Looking for more opportunities to escape the quarantine? Read about some of Jarrett's and my adventures over the years at adventureswithbg.com. To see some of the pictures from our trip over to Old Tunnel State Park and other adventures, follow Adventures with BG on Instagram and Facebook.
As always, if you like this podcast, don't forget to subscribe or follow it in your favorite podcasting app. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and leave a 5-star review. That'd be really cool. That's all for today, guys. Make sure you have fun, stay hydrated, and stay safe as you wander into the woods.